What happens when family favoritism meets pure, unadulterated greed? Today, we're talking about the ultimate betrayal over the one place our narrator, Mark, cherished most, the family vacation home. This isn't just a story about property, it's about a lifetime of sibling rivalry culminating in a moment so humiliating, it demanded professional-grade revenge. Mark's sister, Sarah, inherited the entire $3 million property and promptly banned him from stepping foot on the land. Years passed. Mark built a wildly successful career in a very specific, high-end industry. And then, fate, or rather, a catastrophic structural failure, came calling. Sarah found herself in a desperate position, needing the one person she had betrayed. The quote Mark sent her wasn't just astronomical, it was a carefully constructed weapon. And his final reply? That single word is one you won't forget. Get comfortable, because this story is pure, satisfying retribution. My sister inherited the $3 million family vacation home and told me you're not welcome here anymore. Years later, she called begging for my company's help with a devastating renovation. I sent her the quote and replied with a single word. The moment I saw the will, I knew there was going to be a problem. My parents weren't malicious, they were just disorganized and sentimental. The core issue was the family vacation cabin, the Beechwood property. It wasn't just a cabin, it was a multi-million-dollar, custom-built, coastal home that sat right on the Sound. We spent every summer there. Every major holiday. It was the only place in the world that felt like ours. When my parents passed away within 6 months of each other, my sister, Sarah, handled the estate. And by handled, I mean she found the most poorly drafted, confusing will imaginable. My parents, in their attempt to be fair, had written a clause regarding the cabin that basically said, the Beechwood property goes to Sarah, with the expectation that she will share it equally with Mark and his family, as she sees fit. See? Sentimental, but legally useless. They meant well, thinking Sarah would uphold the spirit of the agreement. They forgot that Sarah had been cultivating an aggressive sense of entitlement since she was 7. Sarah was the favorite. I won't deny it. I was the quiet, nerdy kid who loved building things and hated confrontation. She was the charming, dramatic one who always got her way. I became a successful structural engineer, eventually running my own highly specialized, luxury renovation firm focusing on complex, custom residential projects, the kind of work that costs $500,000 before you even break ground. Sarah majored in sociology and married a guy who thought he was a land developer because he once bought a fixer-upper. The ink wasn't even dry on the probate papers before Sarah decided what sharing meant. 2 weeks after the funeral, I called her to suggest a weekend trip to Beechwood to collect some of the few sentimental items that were ours, some of Dad's old fishing gear, Mom's garden statues. Oh, Mark, she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. I'm so sorry, but that won't be possible. Why not? I asked, confused. It's Saturday. The weather is perfect. Well, Jason and I are using it now. We've already moved a lot of our things in. Plus, we've decided we need to treat it like our own property now. Legally, it is mine, you know. A cold feeling started spreading through my chest. Sarah, Mom, and Dad wanted us to share it. That was the whole point of the will. She sighed, that deep, put-upon sigh she used when I was being unreasonable. Look, Mark, I appreciate that. But you have your own house. This is a lot of upkeep, and frankly, Jason and I need a place where we can relax without constantly entertaining guests. You're not welcome here anymore. You're banning me from the family cabin? I asked, completely stunned. I'm setting boundaries, she corrected me, her tone hardening. If you want to come visit Mom and Dad's grave, that's fine. But the house is mine now. You don't get to treat it like a free vacation spot. I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I just sat there, staring at the wall, thinking of decades of memories erased by her selfishness. I realized then that every time I had backed down, every time I had conceded to her entitlement, I had paved the way for this moment. I deleted her number, blocked her on social media, and made a promise to myself, I would never acknowledge her existence again unless I had the upper hand. For the next 4 years, I focused completely on my business. My company developed a reputation for being the absolute best and the most expensive for high-risk structural stabilization and renovation, especially on unique or historic properties. We dealt with failing foundations, complex water damage, and properties requiring rare, custom materials. We were the people you called when everyone else said, "Tear it down." During those years, I heard things through the family grapevine. Sarah and Jason decided they were going to turn Beechwood into an even bigger estate. They started an ambitious, totally unnecessary, $500,000 renovation immediately, ignoring all local zoning laws and, crucially, ignoring the need for a competent structural engineer. They hired the cheapest contractor they could find, who had zero experience with coastal construction or the home's unique post and beam construction. I heard they were tearing out load-bearing walls to create a great room and adding a second-story deck without properly anchoring the foundation. I didn't say anything. I just smiled and waited. The disaster struck last fall. It started with massive cracks running through the drywall. Then, during a particularly heavy storm, they had significant water penetration that led to a massive mold problem. Because they had removed the internal load-bearing walls, the entire center of the house began to sag. The structure was failing, compromised by moisture and poor engineering. The local building authority slapped them with a stop work order that essentially said, "Fix this immediately, or the whole place gets condemned and demolished." The Beechwood property, once valued at $3 million, was now an uninhabitable, structurally unstable liability. Sarah went through 3 different local contractors. They all walked away. The fixes required specialized knowledge about the specific materials used in coastal historical construction and a structural engineer who could stabilize the unique foundations without demolishing the entire property. They needed the best. They needed my company. The phone call came at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. The caller ID was blocked, but I answered it anyway. "Mark? Is that you?" "It's Sarah." Her voice was ragged, strained, nothing like the smug, entitled tone I remembered. I waited a long beat before replying, "Mark speaking. You reached Mark Structural and Design. We specialize in high-end, complex residential restorations. If you're looking for a consultation, our minimum fee is $5,000, payable upfront." She started sobbing immediately. "Mark, please, this isn't a joke. It's me. Sarah. We need your help. We are desperate." "How did you get this number?" I asked flatly. "I called Dad's old business partner, Mr. Reynolds. He told me you were the only one who could save the Beechwood property." "Mark, it's collapsing. The city is threatening demolition. We have nowhere else to go." "The Beechwood property," I repeated, letting the words roll off my tongue, savoring them. "The one you banned me from 4 years ago? I was young. I was stupid. I was stressed about the will," she cried, the excuses tumbling out. "Please, Mark. We need you. You're the only one who knows how that house was built." I leaned back in my chair, looking out over the city skyline from my penthouse office. The silence stretched between us. "Send me the assessment reports, the blueprints, and photos of the damage. If I determine it's a project we can take, we can discuss terms." "Thank you, Mark. Thank you. You're a lifesaver." "Don't thank me yet, Sarah," I said, a dangerous calm in my voice. "The fee for the initial structural analysis is due immediately." "No payment, no visit." She agreed instantly. The desperation in her voice was almost pathetic. An hour later, my accountant confirmed the $5,000 fee had cleared. I smiled. Stage 1 complete. I spent the next 2 days reviewing the documents. The damage was far worse than I imagined. Structural integrity was compromised across the entire eastern wing. Mold had infiltrated the specific reclaimed lumber Dad had insisted on. This wasn't a renovation, it was a rescue operation that required total structural reinforcement and custom material sourcing. It would be difficult, dangerous, and require my absolute best team working for months. It was going to be expensive. Very expensive. I drove out to Beechwood property that Friday. I hadn't been back since before Mom died. The moment I pulled up, my heart ached. The beautiful, shingled home was covered in tarps and cautionary tape. A massive chunk of the south wall was visibly warped. The once immaculate yard was piled high with rotting drywall and discarded wood. It looked sick. Sarah met me in the driveway, mascara running, wearing clothes that looked slept in. Jason, her husband, stood beside her, his arms crossed, glaring at me like this was somehow my fault. "Mark, thank God you're here," Sarah rushed over, trying to hug me. I put up a hand, stopping her before she touched me. "Keep your distance," I said, pulling on specialized work gloves. "This is a contamination zone. I'm here professionally, Sarah. Not as your brother." We spent an hour walking the property. The stench of mildew was overwhelming. She had tried to create the great room by taking out 2 load-bearing walls and replacing them with a single, undersized steel beam that was visibly bowing. Water poured through the roof during the last rain, running down the inside of the walls where the vapor barrier had been improperly installed. "We just need you to fix the structure," Jason said arrogantly. "We'll handle the drywall and finish work. Just stop it from collapsing." I turned to him, meeting his hostile gaze. "Sir, if you touch this structure again with your amateur contractors, it will collapse. This requires full remediation, custom reinforcement, and sourcing of proprietary materials your wife's previous contractors ruined. This is a $500,000 problem that your cheap fixes have turned into a multi-million-dollar recovery project." I looked at Sarah. She was crying again. "We don't have millions, Mark. Please. Just give us a family price." I ignored the family price comment. I already knew my number. This job was worth $800,000 minimum to any other company. To me? It was worth a lot more. I measured, photographed, and made notes, treating them both like annoying clients who were hindering my work. I left without another word, promising to send the final proposal in 48 hours. I spent the weekend drafting the quote. I included every detail, every specialized cost, every contingency. The final number, meticulously itemized, came out to $1.95 million. It was fair based on the difficulty and the specialized labor required, but it was also a number I knew Sarah and Jason couldn't possibly afford without liquidating almost every other asset they owned, assets they were supposed to have shared with me. I added one specific clause, written in bold at the bottom: full payment of the quoted amount is required upfront as a non-refundable deposit due to the high-risk nature of the project. I attached the proposal to an email and sent it late Sunday night. I didn't send a personal note. Monday morning, my phone started ringing at 7 a.m. Sarah, Jason, Tina, Mom's sister, and even one of my estranged cousins. They were all calling about the quote. I ignored every single one. I left my phone on silent, watching the notifications pile up. By noon, I had 3 desperate voicemails from Sarah, the last one ending in hysterical screaming. Finally, at 1:30 p.m., a text came through from Sarah. No greeting. Just a panicked, capitalized message. "Sarah, Mark. Are you serious? $1.90 million upfront? We don't have that. We're going to lose everything. You have to help us. This is extortion. You're my brother." I picked up my phone, my fingers flying over the keypad. For 4 years, I had held on to that moment in the cabin driveway when she told me I wasn't welcome. The public humiliation, the selfish exclusion, the erasure of my memories, it all condensed into this one perfect moment of retribution. I typed my response, a single word, and hit send. Mark, denied. That single word, professional, final, and utterly devastating. What a perfectly executed moment of karma. Mark was willing to save the house, but only for a price that ensured Sarah and Jason faced the true, crushing cost of their entitlement and recklessness. Now, the floor is yours. Do you think Mark was completely justified in his astronomical quote and his one-word reply, or should family loyalty have prevailed? What would you have done if your entitled sibling had done this to you? Let me know in the comments below. If you were gripped by this tale of revenge and justice, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. See you in the next one.